Hi, this is Lisa Guthrie. There's a big plot tonight to break in at my apartment. I'm in the U District, and there is a person here who is just talking about needles, and he's an ugly, bald, nerdy guy. This is the Safeway. It's in the U District. It's on Brooklyn. And he said, oh yeah, we got plenty of needles. 4732. The gang members, by the way, they're all in on needles because they then can knock and dope people out. This is a huge area of Bloods and Zetas. There are also a lot of Asian street gangs. The Score played You Wanted It. They're all on a zombie network of you, and they'll play games like You Wanted It. And somebody might have thrown glass at me when I was outside. Now I'm gonna put my thing down for a minute. Hi, so I'm at Safeway. You can be in the shot if you want to. I'm at Safeway at Brooklyn, and there are a lot of gang members in this area. They're primarily Bloods and Zetas, and see, this is corner of 50th. There's Jack in the Box. So 350 Degree. You can find this place on Google Earth, actually. And couple of the, well, quite a few of the staff at Safeway are Bloods and Zetas. And the tall, bald, ugly man, he was saying, yeah, we got lots of needles, and then he said something sounding ridiculous. And when you hear a ridiculous, cutesy statement, it can often be a gang term. Like, they'll say something like, I'll just make up something right now, like, Jackie Slurpee. Jackie Slurpee it. That could be moron playing something in regard for murder. And then they'll call everything Jackie Slurpee. She said she usually plays Sagebrush. There's some roughs behind me. If you think I'm scared, nope. Fuck no. In fact, let's turn around. It's called herding. So anyway, some of the construction guys are gang members you never knew. Some of the women at Elizabeth Gregory home were saying something about Officer Bobby, and they were saying verified by Officer Bobby, and they're in on a kidnapping plot that involves sort of a ridiculous sounding break-in plot. It's Officer Bobby of the West Precinct. And you have to understand that the women of Elizabeth Gregory home, they're ogresses pretty much, and they are mostly Bloods and Zetas there as well. And Officer Bobby also allegedly made an order so that I would be sprinkled with glass wherever I go, including on the bus. And I'm the one who's been broadcasting about poisons in my water. And they didn't want me going out because I was allegedly hot with radiation, and they were gloating about Ebola. They've also told me to keep my windows closed and the door closed, and they thought, who's that? The gang members up at 10507 Aurora Avenue North, Seattle, Washington, 98133. I'm in Unit 329. And it also involves the gang members of the Pike Place Security. They're called PDA. It's Pike Place Market Preservation and Development Authority. And they're not real cops, but what you'll find is that there are corrupt cops that will get together with retarded people, even like at Elizabeth Gregory or something, and then they'll walk around and they'll conduct little exercises like they're real military, real government, etc. And they often incorporate gang members that are even carpenters. You know, because carpenters can actually help them bury bodies. They've got access to muriatic acid. Now, this is the Avenue and University. There's a tea house coming up, but the Blood likes to be on glass crimes and other crimes in the U District. We're also coming up for the, oh, he's playing Fix You. So we're coming up to the dollar store. The Bloods, the Zetas. He's talking about refreshment. Hi, this is Lisa Guthrie. I'm in the U District, and I'm the one who's been harmed by dirty cops and Bloods and Zetas, mostly the last 13 years. And there's one in particular. His name is Officer Bobby, and there have been a couple others. But what they do is, and I actually broadcasted these women, you couldn't even believe it, they look so retarded. The dirty cops will actually join in with people, especially in welfare. They seem to be easily manipulated, and they get a few security guards, maybe some real nurses, real cops. They start to play this game of government, law enforcement, etc., and they're actually doing crimes, and then the retarded people will go around repeating things, according to Dr. So-and-so, according to Officer Bobby. So they might actually be breaking in to rape someone and play committing, and then they'll say, according to Officer Bobby, according to Dr. Jaffe, who's also involved. He's actually doctor who visits the building where I live. He visits some of the people there on Wednesdays, and he's been skulking around. According to what I've been hearing, he smokes crack, and he's been given fellatio by some of the prostitutes at 10507 Aurora Avenue North, Seattle, Washington, 98133, Unit 329, along with Officer Bobby. And Officer Bobby, by the way, has two homosexual boyfriends at the Pike Place Market, and they are people of the PDA, the Pike Place Market Development Authority. And see, when you're gang stalked, you don't let people behind you. You recognize a certain look. You recognize a certain attitude. By the way, there's a male who works at the Tea Republic. He spent about 20 minutes on Saturday arranging people to get glass sprinkled on them. He's a male, tall, with a beard, and he is a Blood. So even if he refutes it, he will be found to have blood connections. And Zeta. The Bloods and Zetas, in Washington State at least, often work together. I'm not referring to Zetas of Mexico. I'm not referring to the cartel, but I do know that the Bloods and Zetas often work together. They also will work with Asian street gang members. So, there is definitely a 13-year history that I have where corrupt cops have teamed up with gang members, and I bear the marks. And the Lisa's Crazy game came to a head when chemicals were placed in my water that actually bleached my hands, and I bear the marks of multitudes of scratches from the glass crimes. I am in the U District. It's about 45th and University. She might be a sprinkler, by the way. She just made a flinging motion. And a lot of, oh, and then she adjusted her crotch as well. These people that are in gangs are, I would say, very abnormal people to begin with. They have a low mentality, and then if you tell them somebody's a policeman, like a dirty security guard, like Officer Bobby's gay boyfriends from the Pike Place Market, and by the way, Officer Bobby is from the West Precinct. If you tell these kind of people that someone's a policeman, they psych themselves up into it, or they're so illiterate or so mentally diminished that they'll believe it. But they also glamorize themselves with these cop schemes, these cop scenarios and government schemes. They're often people who have not worked a day in their life, and they're in Bloods or Zetas or Asian street gangs. And those are the ones I primarily had to deal with. And you might say, why would Asian street gangs be involved? Well, it's like the go-to guy. So if one person over here has one thing, somebody else over here has another. And apparently they've worked it out. So Bloods and Zetas don't shoot each other in the back, so that we'll team up. And there's a break-in plot tonight in my apartment. They're going to play committal, and I broadcasted some of the ogresses that were in on it, and they're very diminished looking. They're from Elizabeth Gregory home. You wouldn't even believe it. Now, here comes my bus, so I'm going to get my ticket out and stop this for a bit.
Next stop, Northeast 50th Street.
Hi, this is Lisa Guthrie. I am back, and I am on 8021, and there were two people who got on the bus. Actually, there's a third that's very creepy. It looks like a meth dealer. And there's a tall female in kind of a teal blue, and I'm kind of a turquoise. Interestingly enough, I've seen a lot of the Bloods or Zetas wearing turquoise, the females, like a teal, green, light, or a turquoise. And somebody's pretending to be federally in the back. I just heard them say federally. And you can count on the fact it's a mental patient with a connection to a dirty cop like Officer Bobby. Oh, by the way, I wanted to express that Officer Bobby has a break-in plot tonight with Dr. Jaffe. And they're playing committal, and there's rape and torture. One of the retardos is talking about a drug test, and he's pretending he's a policeman. I think it is. It's that ugly meth head thing that was, he's in a blue hat. That's he. And so he thinks he's a policeman. He's an ugly scab, and nobody would ever believe him if they were normal. But you get these retarded, drunk junkies that will believe people like that, or pretend they believe. It's often pretense. They get so many people in a conspiracy that nobody refutes them, and then after all, they've got that Officer Bobby. I think I was sprinkled by that ugly woman at the front, or at the bus stop, because I did see some glass go through the air when I shook my hair. So glass, by the way, when gang members sprinkle glass, it spreads everywhere. So whoever sits here next will have a problem. But the gang members have made that a very popular crime to sprinkle people with glass. And there are different shapes of glass, including cylindrical, round, irregular shapes, hooked shapes. Those are used in people's cosmetics. I'm the victim of a gang crime for the last 13 years of Bloods and Zetas, actually. And my trouble started when I turned in an alleged meth lab, and it was below me. And believe me, a lot of buildings are full of that activity. And people act skeptical, and oh no, it would smell, you'd notice, and it does smell. So, this ugly guy is creepy and weird, and he's playing the word Nespa. Nespa. It's gang code as well, and he's pretending to be a policeman. He's not a policeman. So anyway, I mean, it's obvious. And the thing is, lately I've been terrorized by actual Officer Bobby at 10507 Aurora Avenue North, Seattle, Washington, 98133, Unit 329. And I've told them to bring their badge out and stick it under my door, and they wouldn't. They prefer to hide. There's a couple places, including an empty janitor's room, allegedly empty.
Northeast and Northeast 61st.
And Officer Bobby and Dr. Jaffe, well, especially Officer Bobby, he has his homosexual lovers, two of them at the Pike Place Market, the PDA, and they are involved in black Nazism, by the way, and they are at the Pike Place Market, and the PDA stands for Pike Place Market Preservation and Development Authority. By the way, all the Bloods and Zetas are involved in gang crimes such as child molesting, murder, full-on identity theft, where one renders the victim unrecognizable. I'm just examining someone. Once you see someone with a Bluetooth, and if they're a gang member, by the way, they think that they are in the government. It seems to go along with mental patients. So whenever I see Bluetooth, I get a little nervous. It's like, oh no, are you going to be a psychotic agent think you're good. So anyway, yes, I have been terrorized for 13 years. And by the way, Officer Bobby is involved in entry points that can be patched up by carpenters. It sounds crazy, but they will enter through the floor or the wall. I've actually been threatened by the people at 10507 Aurora Avenue North, Seattle, Washington, 98133 in my unit, by people who tell me that they're going to take a chainsaw and come up through the floor or through the wall. Officer Bobby and Dr. Jaffe are also they're linking to missing people, 10 missing Europeans and British people that allegedly went off to greener pastures to stay here in the States. And I'd like to mention that Bloods and Zetas are very much linking, and Asian street gangs as well, they're linking with cannibalism, drugs, murder, full-on identity theft, as mentioned, and the victim will be rendered unrecognizable before, during, and after death. And I'm all scratched up too. And you might find that the victim is replaced. They're parted out, literally, to the organs trade, so they're in on the illegal organs trade. I've been threatened for my kidneys up in that location. And what happens sometimes is that some of these organizations will pretend that you are a racist or a bad person, and it gives these zombie gang members this sense of justification in killing you. They might even spread some lie, and then what you find out about the lies is that the people that are lying the most are actually guilty of the crimes that they are accusing you of. And remember, with social engineering these days, a person can push a button and within 1 second they could be sending information to literally thousands of people, including in a small area. So if that target moves from the target point, that person is just, you might as well paint a target sign on them. And picture accompanies, usually, sometimes in gangs, gang member repertoire, they'll have people under illegal surveillance, including in their home, and they will, gang members will literally bribe, coerce, or force people into committing gang crimes with them and for them, such as the whole building where I live. And they would be terrified to go against Officer Bobby and Dr. Jaffe and the rest of the gang, not to give them any kind of credit. So there is a big plot tonight, and it would involve a popular method used by gang members where they go through the floor. There are hypodermic needles involved, and then often the victim is beaten badly, raped, tortured, and they're afraid to say anything because torture would get worse. Yes? I'm getting a call, excuse me. I'm not trying to do So that's the plot tonight, and like I said, I did send out a video of the retarded ogress, one of them that I heard saying, according to Officer Bobby, verified by Officer Bobby. So they're acting like it's legal just because they have some people of law enforcement. And, the kidnapping, that is, or illegal organs trade. And they've threatened me lately with further mutilation, hand amputation, finger amputation, kidney, a brain operation, drugging me. And this is all at 10507 Aurora Avenue North, Seattle, Washington, 98133. But I have been followed, and apparently Officer Bobby of the West Precinct put out an order so that I would be sprinkled with glass wherever I go. You might say, I'm crazy, but look at my hands. And one would only have to look at my face, and it wasn't acne. And then the gang members will follow you around saying she picked her acne. Let's see, if that story is suitable, then, for the situation, or seemingly suitable, suiting the situation. And then other stories might include injecting, even though you've never injected. The gang members thrive on lies, falsehoods, utter fabrications, exaggerations. And they also seem to play a game that might include going back and forth in time, such as if a person had acne or when they were 30, then if they scratch you up badly enough, even though your skin was pretty clean at 50, clear, well, oh boy, you just had acne. So anyway, an expert would be able to tell the difference if it is an expert that is not involved with the gang. So I think I'll end my broadcast and start it if anyone starts to harass me. It's not. He's saying, pick up the Schwarzkopf. It's not normal. It's somebody with a...
Next stop.
I think it might have to do with guns.
Avenue, Northeast.
They think it does.